Now, my final healthcare tip isn't so much a healthcare tip, it's more of a survival tip for you and your cat, and that's how to deal with the difficult cat. Now, as you can see, Jill isn't probably the ideal model for this situation, being quite a placid cat, but some cats can really get funny if you're trying to do things such as trim their nails or give them worming tablets. And I've got 3 different tips which will help you if your cat is a bit of a problem. Now, the first one might sound a bit strange, and it involves a clothes peg. And what you need to do if your cat is playing up is simply apply a clothes peg gently to the scruff of the back of the neck. It will sit there, and it gives the cat a sense of security as if its mother is holding it there, and that calms the cat down. As you can see just by putting my fingers there, Jill is just staying in one place because she's being held by a scruff, and this reminds the cat of when it was a kitten and its mother would be holding it in its teeth there, holding the scruff. If a clothes peg isn't doing it for you, you can hold the cat's scruff. You can hold it nice and tightly like this. This limits the amount of movement the cat has in the head, and also protects your hand. It's hard for them to get around and bite you, hard for them to get claws on you. So a good firm scruff, it's not going to do the cat any harm as long as you're not doing it for any length of time and you're not lifting the cat by their scruff. So just holding on to the scruff firmly. And finally, if you're still having trouble, you need to get a towel and wrap the cat up. And now this is a favoured technique of vets all across the country, and we deal with difficult cats quite commonly like this. So you take a towel and you literally wrap the cat up like so, leave the head out, and then you've got a much more manageable unit there. So if you need to give a worming tablet, you can take the head and pop a worming tablet down. If you're trimming a nail, you can take a leg out and trim the nails. So that's a pretty good way. It protects you, it protects the cat. And if you do that kind of thing, take care. If you're really worried, if you're having trouble, if the cat is too much to handle, it's worth just popping down to the vets, because that's what we're paid for, is risking our fingers and our hands dealing with these troublesome cats. If you're confused by all these healthcare tips, then don't worry, this is my healthcare diary, just to summarise all the things you need to do for your cat once a year. So, on a weekly basis, you need to groom your cat, checking through their fur to make sure there's no lumps and bumps. On a monthly basis, you should apply flea treatment. This depending on exactly what product you're using, the exact frequency, but it's generally about once a month. Every 3 months, you should be worming your cat. More perhaps if they're regular hunters, but 3 months is a general interval. And then on a yearly basis, you need to take your cats to the vets for their annual vaccinations. When most people think about behavioural problems with pets, they probably imagine a big, aggressive, dominant dog or something, rather than a nice, cute cat. And people wouldn't think that cats actually cause just as many behavioural problems as dogs do, and sometimes even more so. And a badly behaved cat can cause misery for pet and owner alike. So it's really worth understanding your cat, getting inside their head, and then you should be able to cope with pretty much any behavioural problem your cat decides to throw at you. Now, the first thing to really remember is that cats are territorial animals. They're not pack animals like dogs. They've got a territory, they're solitary hunters, and problems with their territory is generally what causes most behavioural problems. Stress related to other animals getting into their territory and not being able to defend their territory properly. So you need to understand what a cat's territory is. And in its simplest form, a cat's territory has 3 distinct components. Zone 3 is the widest environment where your cat will go out hunting, they'll meet other cats, and this probably extends up to half a mile perhaps from your house. And here your cat will be quite happy to meet other cats because they're just passing through, they're hunting, there's no stress really involved with meeting other cats there. Zone 2 is a much tighter area, probably just your garden in essentially, where your cat will be spending a lot of their time, this is their primary hunting ground, and if other cats get into zone 2, into your garden, that can cause a lot of stress for your cat, because they think, you know, this is my territory, there's another cat getting in, I've got to defend the territory, chase them off, and that causes all sorts of stress which can cause physical health problems as well as behavioural problems. And the final part of your cat's territory you need to understand is inside. This is zone 1, and this is the most critical part of the territory where your cat really has to feel relaxed, and this is where most behavioural problems will start. One of the most common feline behavioural problems that's associated with territorial issues is urine marking. Now, this happens because other cats invade your cat's territory. They get into zone 2, or worse still, into zone 1, so right here in the house, and that causes loads of anxiety and stress in your cat. And they respond to this by trying to make the house smell particularly of them and their own pheromones. So they'll urine mark around the house to try and make up for this other cat that's coming in and invading the territory. The classic symptoms of urine marking are a cat that backs up to areas, so the edge of the sofa, corners of walls, perhaps light sockets or switches, and squirts a little bit of urine. It's not the cat who actually goes for a whole wee in the corner of the room. That's a different issue. But urine marking is pretty easy to tell, really. So it's little squirts of urine, especially on the corners of objects, corners of the sofas and things. And it really means your cat is not at all happy. The territory is being invaded, other cats are getting in, and you do need to sort it out pretty quickly, not just to make your house smell better, but to make your cat feel an awful lot better as well. Luckily, there are plenty of things you can do about urine marking, and these are my 5 top tips for sorting out urine marking in the house. Now, my top tip number 1 is to fit yourself a magnetic cat flap. Now, these are cat flaps which have a special transponder. The cat wears a collar, and it will only let specific cats into the house. So the stray cats, the next door's cat, which are causing all the trouble, upsetting your cat, won't be able to get into zone 1, and that should sort out an awful lot of these problems. My tip 2 is to cat-proof your garden as much as possible. So this is protecting your cat's zone 2 of their territory by putting up a high fence or spiky plants or other protective measures around zone 2, around the garden, to try and keep cats out of that territory. If these points aren't working, try tip 3, which is to equip yourself with a water pistol or a big bucket of water. And if any other cats are getting into the garden, then fire the water pistol at them or throw a bucket of water over them, and this will soon get rid of them. And this is just helping your cat really protect and patrol that territory and that zone number 2. Tip 4 might sound a bit strange, but it's to get yourself an old tea towel and then wipe this on your cat's feet, and this picks up their scent, their pheromones and their smell, and you wipe this tea towel in the areas where your cat has been scent marking. So if your cat has been spraying up the back of the sofa or on some sockets or on the corner of the room, then use the tea towel impregnated with their scent and rub it into those areas, and that will mean your cat will go up, sniff and think, it already smells of me, I don't need to urine mark there. And my final tip, if nothing else is working, go to your vet and get yourself a pheromone diffuser. Now, these are plug-in devices which release lots of calming pheromones which make your cat a lot more relaxed and happy, and they can work wonders, although they don't work in all cases. So these 5 tips really should help you cope with most cat urine marking problems, so you should be able to sort that out. And we're now going to move on to look at a few more slightly awkward issues involving badly behaved and aggressive cats in the house.